3 years back, my wife and I bought our first house in the fancy part of the city, and we picked a place near my mom's house since she's been on her own since my dad passed away. My mom was born in South Africa before there was a vaccine for polio, and she got affected by the disease. She can't move her legs, so she has been using crutches or a wheelchair all her life. My wife and I really wanted a house near hers, so that we could visit her a lot and take care of her. We also wanted to make sure she can be independent and do her own stuff without feeling like we're always watching her. I always worried about something happening to my mom, so it made me feel better knowing I could quickly go to her place to help, no matter if it was a small issue or a big problem. But one summer night in 2019, something bad happened which I wasn't ready for. In the middle of the summer, I drove my mom to the airport as she was going to South Africa to see her sister and my cousins. Since my older brother lives in another city and I'm close by, I took on the job of looking after her house while she was away. So, I made sure to visit twice a week. It became my routine to water the plants, pick up the mail, check the answering machine, and do all the usual things that need doing in a house. I wanted to make sure everything was in order for when she came back home. Thankfully, a year ago, I got a security system for my mom's house. It's like having a helper that keeps an eye on things even when I'm not there. I set it up so I can use my phone to see what's happening at her place anytime. If a window or door is opened or if something sets off the alarm, my phone lets me know immediately. I made sure to put everything in for security except cameras, and later in the story, I'd regret not having them. But in my own house, I have cameras everywhere inside and outside. They watch over everything from my motorcycle in the garage to my snoozing dog in the living room. Fast forward a month, I finished work, hit the gym, watched a movie with my wife, and got ready for bed. Nothing unusual so far, right? But just after 2 in the morning, my phone started making a noise. I thought it might be an email or something from Instagram, so I ignored it. I really value my sleep, as I usually get around 5 hours a night. After I started dozing off, my phone kept making noise again and again. My wife woke up and said, "Turn it off, I'm trying to sleep." She often teases me about keeping the volume on at night, but I do it just in case of an emergency or if my mom needs us. I'm glad I didn't turn the volume off because when I tried to check the notifications, it hit me suddenly like a car crashing through my living room. I got a bunch of messages from the security system at my mom's house. Right then, the company watching the system calls my phone, and I pick up. The lady on the phone tells me that the home alarm is going off because the motion detector in the basement noticed movement several times. Then she says they've sent security people to check on my mom's house to make sure everything's okay. While I was on the phone with the lady, I checked the message again from the security system. I could see what she was telling me. I also looked at the locks on my mom's doors, and the system said they were all locked. Without looking more, I suddenly understood someone or something is inside the house right now. Remember, I was suddenly woken up from sleep and told that maybe someone broke into my mother's house. I was still half asleep, and I didn't have time to clear the fog in my mind. Because of that, I jumped to the wrong conclusion, and I thought my mother could be in danger. I quickly got out of bed and ran to the garage. I only paused to put on my shoes and grab my car keys. It was good I had pajama pants on because it was a cold night. I didn't stop to pick up a shirt, jacket, or any kind of weapon. I was in a hurry to reach my mother's place. Luckily, I had a strong flashlight in my car, like the ones the police use, which I usually bring for exploring around the city. So, I grabbed the flashlight, placed it on my lap, started the car, and pushed the gas pedal down fast. I went way faster than the speed limit in the neighborhood to get to the house in a hurry. Trying to drive like a racer really wakes you up. When I reached my mom's house, I saw that all the lights were still off, exactly how I had left them. The alarm was so loud that it hurt my ears. People from nearby houses started coming outside, but there were no security patrol cars in sight. I ran to the front door while unlocking it from my phone. But when I yanked the door open, I found myself staring into the dark entryway of my mother's house. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I couldn't move. I was frozen with fear. Despite being 25 years old at the time, I had never faced anything so frightening before. I've been through some pretty intense and crazy stuff before, even situations where my life was at risk, but nothing scared me as much as looking into what I was sure was the entrance to really scary things that happened in my childhood home. Just to note, at this moment while standing at the door, my brain still hadn't reminded me that my mom was safe, chilling at my aunt's beach house in South Africa. With the thought of my mom in my head, my bravery kicked in. Step by step, I went into the house. I think my body's fight or flight switch got stuck on fight because I went searching instead of checking my mom's room. I literally hit the switch that turns on the lights in the basement, ready for a big fight. But you know what? To this day, I'm not sure if it was a huge relief or if I was terrified, because when I looked around, there was absolutely nothing there. Not a single thing. I looked around where I was standing. The windows in the main part of the basement were fine. The lights from the motion detector were blinking, and my phone was buzzing to tell me about my own movements in the house. Then I realized standing out in the open in the basement wasn't a smart thing to do. So I ran back upstairs, turning on all the lights in the kitchen as I went. I grabbed the biggest knife from the block, then I went to my mother's room. I checked every corner, doorway, closet, and even under each piece of furniture. I did it slowly and carefully, making sure everything was okay until I felt sure the main floor of the house was safe. I was sure the person who shouldn't be there must be in the basement. I took out my phone and turned off the home alarm so I could listen carefully. Then I checked the main room again, under the pool table, behind the couch, and even in the bathroom. But found nothing. But as I turned to go down the hallway, I saw the door to the guest bedroom was closed. I couldn't remember if I had closed it before or during another visit, so I walked up to the door slowly, trying my best to hear any sound. I grabbed the door handle and pulled it open. I can't be sure, but I might have gotten really scared when I saw someone at the other end of the room with a big knife. I had to try my hardest not to faint. I was really scared, but I knew I had to do something. I gathered my courage bit by bit and reached for the light switch, ready to fight the intruder. The light came on and I dropped to my knees crying. That's when I realized I was looking at my own reflection. The closet door in the bedroom had mirrored panels, and in the dark they made me see something that looked like a scary person. Then I heard a car door close outside, and I thought it was the security patrol arriving in the driveway. The guy who claimed to be a security officer was standing there, but he looked younger than me. If you imagine the word intimidating in your mind, this man was the opposite, was a bit chubby, smiling, and had a really young-looking face. He looked more like someone welcoming you into a house. I checked my watch, and the man had come a whole hour after I told the security company to send someone. I told the guy that I searched every part of the house and didn't find anything. I started to wonder not-so-nice thoughts about how useless this guy pretending to be a security officer, but I'm a bit embarrassed about those thoughts now. Then he asked me if I checked the garage. My clever grin disappeared quickly. I reached for the button in my car that opens the garage door. The garage is an open space, and it's really hard to hide in there. I walked through, peeked inside the car, and then left the garage. I felt sure it was empty. The security officer gave me some papers to sign, basically saying he did come when the home alarm went off. I told him about the basement motion detector showing lots of times where it recorded movement. Then I saw his face go pale as he explained that the detectors his company uses don't just sense movement, but also check for changes in temperature in the room to avoid false reports of movement. After telling me this, he got into his car and drove away. I locked up the house, turned on the outside lights, and set the security system again. I leaned against my car, looking at the house, trying to figure out how the alarm could have gone off. It's supposed to work when it senses movement and heat, but there didn't seem to be anyone around. The very next day, I made sure to get security cameras installed outside the house, in the garage, and where the motion detectors were placed. It's been 2 years since that night, and I haven't shared this incident with my mom, brother, or my wife. I'm still puzzled. Was there really someone there, or was there some weird reason for the alarm going off? I really hope I never have to experience that again. Sometimes not knowing the answer is the better choice. I met this guy while I was still with my boyfriend, but despite being 10 years older than me, if I recall correctly, he wasn't someone I found attractive. We only had about 20 minutes of conversation, and it was all very impersonal and polite exchanges. I only talked to him when it was absolutely necessary. It was just basic talk, nothing more. Well, my boyfriend and I started dating, and somehow that other guy knew about it. One night when we were excited to go to the club together, we noticed that this guy was following us. It made me nervous and I started freaking out. I ran to the bathroom with my friend for safety, while our boyfriend turned around to talk to him. That guy, however, started acting really immature, like a 5-year-old boy. He even started crying and then ran away, leaving the nightclub. Then about a month later, I found a disturbing love letter in my mailbox. It was creepy because he had delivered it himself to my house, meaning that this guy had followed me to my door before and found out where I live. Fast forward 1 year, and I don't go to the place I met him anymore because he practically lives there. My friends told me he hangs out there every day, almost like he's waiting for me to show up. We moved after a while, and during that summer at the new place, I started noticing that guy at the mall. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but then a shop owner I know well tells me that the guy's been following me and even hides when I turn around. That really worried me, so I shared the whole story with the shop owner. He was concerned too, and promised to let other store owners know about the situation. He also assured me that he would call security the next time if he sees that creepy guy following me. I now have my own first professional-level full-time stalker, and my boyfriend and I were clueless about what to do. My family was just as lost, and we were super worried. The police couldn't do much since this guy wasn't doing anything harmful at the time. It's been well over 2 years, and things are tough. I don't want to work as a waitress, even though I really need the money because I know he would find out where I work and then sit there all day and night just watching me. I try not to work anywhere near the place I first met this guy, especially around the city center. Going to the mall alone is a no-go for me now. I always bring my boyfriend along. There are specific supermarkets and cafes I steer clear of because I know he hangs out there, hoping to see me. It's disturbing because I don't even know his last name, but he has a strange control over where I can go or not. I really wish I could leave the city, but it's not easy. Even if I manage to go somewhere else, he knows both my first and last name, and all I know about him is his first name and what he looks like. It's kind of scary because he could find me easily. The situation might get even riskier once I finish university. I'm aiming for a teaching position, and they put all your information on the internet so students can see. He might come to my open classes or lectures, sit down and pretend to be a student, but I really hope that never happens. I'm a 22-year-old French student pursuing my master's degree in Amsterdam. I live on my own in an apartment within a student-only building. The neighborhood is calm with occasional sounds of trams passing by or distant noises of parties in other student buildings. One night, around 10 was, I heard a knock on my apartment door. Living on the 3rd floor, accessing my front door requires using a key to open the main entrance and another key for my hallway. This ensures only people with a key can come in. If someone wants to visit, they can call me or ring my doorbell, adding an extra layer of security. On a regular day, I'd open the door without much thought, whether it's my landlord checking in or a neighbor asking for something. I generally feel safe, but this time, for some reason, I had an uneasy feeling. It wasn't an immediate danger, but something felt off. I waited, thinking the person would go away, but the knocking persisted. After about 30 seconds, I said hello, and the voice, claiming to be from Uber Eats, replied in English. This struck me as strange, since most people here usually speak Dutch, and it didn't sound like a familiar neighbor or my landlord. I hadn't ordered anything from Uber Eats that day, making me feel confused. The voice, a deep, roughly 40-year-old one, sounded like a heavy smoker. I told him I didn't order anything, and that he might have the wrong address. Despite this, the knocking continued, and he insisted, "I'm pretty sure you did. I have an order under your name." Panic set in, and I looked around, grabbing a baseball bat just in case. The knocking intensified, and I checked if the door was locked. To my horror, it wasn't, but fortunately, it didn't open without a key. Stepping back, I asked for the name on the order. After a few seconds, there was another loud knock, and he seemed angry and frustrated. After a few minutes, he gave up, hastily descending the emergency stairs. Unsure of his intentions or how he got through the first 2 doors, I wondered if he had knocked on other doors before mine. I shared the incident on our building's WhatsApp group, asking if anyone else had seen something unusual. Turns out nobody witnessed anything suspicious, and no one had opened the door for anyone else. I'm fortunate that my instincts kicked in, warning me not to open the door.